Hi everyone, okay, I'm Brian here, and today I'm going to share with you guys about the Orie, the project that's going to preview on the 3rd of January 2025. And this particular presentation will talk about the unit types, the layouts, and also what you need to know about this project. So I will go dive deep into the analysis of this project. So first of all, before we kickstart, usually I would like to share about the supply of the private homes in the particular estate. Just for comparison, when we look at the condo inventory in Punggol, there are a total of about 49,000 HDB flats and about 8,700 condos, including ECs, in that particular estate itself. So the condo inventory is about 15% of the residential units. So when we compare to Toa Payoh has a total of 37,000 HDB flats, and with the condos that is around that whole entire area, we have only 5 condos including us. We have the Oriental Towers, Trellis Towers, Trevista, and Gem Residences. So the total number of condos that we have together is only 6.5% of the entire residential units. So what does it say? It says that there's actually demand for private homes at Toa Payoh. So just to give you a little bit of background, the recent launch for Gem Residences that was launched in 2016 was actually during a time where actually the market was not so good. So the market was dim because during that period, there was actually a dip in the prices for the private residential properties. But that said, there was such a pent-up demand that even though a lot of other launches are not doing very well, we still see about 50% of Gem Residences being sold during VIP launch. In other words, based on what we observed, in this coming launch for the Orie, there will still be a pent-up demand because the last launch from Gem to us is about 8 to 9 years. So we are quite excited because we have about 777 units, a very nice number. And among all the rest of these launches that was launched before, right, we are the biggest in number, adding on to the new supply of condo inventory in Toa Payoh itself. So a little bit of background for this Lorong 1 Toa Payoh government land sales. Usually I'll go into that because it's quite important. So this particular land sales was being bidded and won by CDL, Fraser's Property, and Sikisui House. These are very good developers, and during that period, it's also quite a tense period because interest rates were very high and there were a lot of launches that were still not being sold out. So there were 3 developers and all developers won, and based on what we see on the land price break-even cost will be about $2,305. So for 15% profit margin, we are looking at 2,651. For 20% profit margin, is about 2,766. So based on this, you can actually have a rough sense that the launch price will not be cheap. We are looking for RCR product that's along the range of about 2006 to 2007. And because this is two tall towering development with up to 40 stories, each floor jump will be pretty high, and we might see even up to 3,000 PSF for the very high floors. Now I'm going to the site plan, unit distribution, and unit mix. So the location map, like we're all looking at location when we buy a property. So Lorong Toa Payoh, needless to say, is actually part of the RCR, the rest of the core central region. We are actually just one bound towards the core central region. So, like just within 5 to 8 minutes, we will be at Novena, Newton, and Orchard. So we are pretty close. So this particular development is also joined by Lorong 1 and Lorong 4. This is a very important intersection because Lorong 1 traverses to CTE, which allows you to go to your Novena and other places. Then this particular Lorong 4 goes to PIE. So as such, in terms of transport accessibility to your highways, is pretty good. But more importantly, we need to look at the MRT factor because we are just 5 minutes walk towards this Braddell MRT. So 5 minutes is actually a very short walk. You can just walk over here. There's a sheltered walkway towards the bus stop, and you cut across the old HDBs, you will reach Braddell in no time. Then great food options. Needless to say, we are also surrounded by great food. I particularly like some of the food that's around the Toa Payoh Lorong 8, the Toa Payoh Lorong 5, and also the Toa Payoh Lorong 1 market itself. They have all sorts of good food. So if you have a chance, please come and grab some bite. Then you will realize that why it's so important to be surrounded by all these good food options, because these days we have no time to cook. We want a quick fix. We want something that's nutritious. We will go to a good food option. So now another thing to highlight is that we are very close to good schools. So the particularly good schools that a lot of people talk about is Pei Chun Public School. This school, when I was much younger, was known as a school that always meet the charts in the PSLE score. So I think there was one year there was a PSLE scholar that scored about 290 7 marks upon 300, and that was almost like 3 marks to full marks for your PSLE. And some of our ministers or even people from the public sector also graduated from Patron Public School. So needless to say, if you are someone that wants to buy a property near to a good school, I think this is a good choice. Because other than that, if you go to CCR, like your Orchard, your Tanjong Pagar, Marina, I don't think you will get to have a good school, despite the views and the amenities are there. So another important fact to highlight is that we are also part of the Toa Payoh Integrated Developments transformation. So this part, if you always go to Safra, you know that there's this big plot of land used to be the stadium, the swimming pool and everything is now all being fenced up to be part of the integrated development. So what does it mean? It means that over there will be malls, there will be a library, there will be a polyclinic, there will be a revamped stadium. It will look a little bit like our Tampines hub that's in Tampines. So it's going to be very exciting. And last but not least, we have our 3 reputable developers. So we have CDL, Razors Properties and CQC House. These 3 are powerhouse developers. They bid the land with caution and they bid at the highest bid to make sure that they want to have a statement at Lorong 1 Toa Payoh. So the location is fantastic. It ticks all the boxes. Okay. Now we come to the site plan. So the site plan is pretty regular. So what do we have in the site plan? Basically, they have 2 tall towering blocks that we have seen earlier on. The distance from block to block is about 43 meters. They are a project that is 100% landscape replacement. So what does it mean? It means that any space that is not being used for communal or facilities, the developer has actually replaced it with a landscape, with a greenery, with something nice, so that when you come to the development, you feel that it has a sophisticated and resort feel and vibe. So that's what we want to achieve. And I've been to the show flat. I'm like, wow, this land is relatively decent, not the biggest land that you see in some of the launches, but based on how they layered the living environment and also the facilities, I thought it's really genius. It's really good. So from one point where you are standing, for example, you are here in the canopy, or you are at the relaxation deck, or you are at the gymnasium, or wherever you are, you get to have a bird's eye view of all the facilities. I think that's something pretty unique, and when you come to the show flat, you will get to see it and experience it yourself. Now, this is something that we have, some of the perspectives of the development. We have the nice swimming pools, the gymnasium, the function room, and they have this little cute, iconic Red Dragon playground that if you are at the Toa Payoh Apex, you will have seen it. They have a replica there. What I think the developers want to do is to really remind all of us about our roots in Toa Payoh. Toa Payoh is such an iconic satellite estate that you like it or not, a lot of my uncle aunties in their early days in their HDB purchase would have actually done a purchase at Toa Payoh. So Toa Payoh always have a special place in their hearts. Now, the unit mix. This is something that I also would share. So you look at the unit mix, it's about 60% of the smaller unit types, ranging from 1 bedroom plus study to the compact 3 bedroom. So anything that's above 1,000 square feet, we have about 40%. What does it mean to the buyers here? Some developments I observe, they only have about 20%, sometimes 15% of the bigger unit types, then the rest are all quite small. So when this happens, actually, this kind of property has a lot of small unit types that is mainly for investment purpose. But when we look at this development with at least 40% unit types mix for the large formatted units, it tells us that there's a sustainability consideration for own stay. So in other words, this range of 1 bedroom plus study all the way to your 5 bedrooms designed to make sure that everybody has a balance for own stay and for investment purposes. Okay, now I'll come to the views, because besides the location, the great amenities, and also the nice site plan that we see, we need to also share about the views. So this particular project has 2 views, the southern views and the northern views. The current picture that you see is actually taken from about 40 story at Orie's height. So you have a very nice panoramic view of the northern sector of Toa Payoh. But I think more importantly is that this southern view is very near to where we celebrate National Day and some of the big events in Singapore. So you're likely going to see some form of fireworks boom around this area. So I think it's pretty nice, so that when you get something that probably about 25 story to 30 stories, you get to see this very nice view. So I think for those who are a view person like myself, I will choose the southern view. Then the other one is actually the northern view. It's not too bad because over here you can get to see your Bishan area. You can see the Sky Habitat, the very iconic structure. That is where you have the northern view. Not too bad because if I didn't get a very good Q number, I couldn't get a southern view. I get at least 30 story and above to see a northern view. I think it's still a good view. So the Orie, you like it or not, besides Gem Residences that is towering at 38 stories, we are the highest in this whole entire area. So view is something that, you know, if you have the money, if you really want something sustainable for yourself to stay for long term, I suggest that you go for a good view unit at the Orie. Now, without further ado, I'll come to the layouts. This is something very important, and for me, it is something that I will share with my clients and also to my friends. Why, you know, we need to dive into the layouts, because layouts is something that when you stay, you feel comfortable, but in the future, when you want to exit, when you want to offload it, it is also something that is easy to let go. The first layout is a 1-bedroom plus study. Here we go. So the 1-bedroom plus study, we have the conventional one where we have the living area over here. Then after that, we have also our bedroom and also our bathroom. So what I want to highlight here is that for this layout, we have the Jack and Jill toilet. So actually it's quite good. So what happens is that if you invite your guests over, you can just lock up your main door, you can open up this one, then your guests can go to the toilet. So they don't have to get to see your master bedroom. So in my honest opinion, this particular layout of 517 square feet for harmonization project, I believe that the living space will be bigger. So I believe that the master bedroom would be spacious, also coupled with the southern and northern view. So you'll get a higher view, you'll be able to see when you wake up, either at the Marina area or even at the Bishan Park area. I think that's pretty good. So this is something that as a own stay person, you may want to consider because it's pretty good layout for a 1-bedroom plus study. One thing I also like to highlight, because this particular project has a theme, the origami team is integrated with this project. The name Orie itself means all, origami's all, and also Ri in Japanese is home. So they try to integrate this particular message inside. So what does it translate? It translates that when you have this kind of messaging, you will have very interesting structure. Over here you can see all this, all your RC lectures. So what happened is that, yes, for some of the facing, especially the northern facing, they will have all these RC lectures. Some of them will look small like this, but some of them in other stacks like stack 5, it could be augmented to a much bigger one. So just for your information, if you were to buy a unit and you don't really want something at your balcony to block your view or make your room darker, you might want to consider the southern view and avoid the northern views. But in any case, if the Q number for you manage to get a good Q number and maybe the units that has no RC latch is being snapped up, I think you should still give it a shot. Now, so I will touch a little bit about if you buy a 1-bedroom plus study for rental, you for investment, is it worth the buck? So right now I did some analysis and studies on the recent transaction of our neighbor Gem Residences. So Gem Residences, so I just generated like really literally almost last week. What you see is that the prices is hovering around approximately about 2006 to 3002, a good spread. That's probably because of the floor level. So what happens is that on average, if let's say you have bought Gem Residences currently right now at 1,950 PSF, we probably got it at the price of 943,000. Then you rent it out at $3,000. The rental yield, it's not too bad, 3.81%. Means that probably your rental could cover a portion of your installment, provided you are a young person. For example, if you're buying the Orie, let's say Orie's PSF is like 2,650 to 2,007, your purchase price could be ranging from 1.3 million to 1.4 million. Then if let's say you expect your rental to be higher, it's possible because you have a study, so your study area, then you could actually ask for 3,300. But that said, if you do the math, you realize that your rental yield is only 2.89% or lower than 3%. So as such, actually this particular percentage is not that good as a rental yield. So what does it mean? It means that if you were to buy a 1-bedroom plus study just purely for rental, I don't think it will help you make a lot of money because you will end up topping up in cash. But if you're going to buy for own stay because you are a bachelor or you are single or you have just really got married and you have a partner and you just need a small space, I think a 517 square feet unit is sufficient. Because the amenities nearby is super good and the travel to MRT is only just 5 minutes walk. Then when you live there for a period of time, then decide to actually rent it out for rental yield, it might work for you, because by then the rental market will have actually gone up, and then your rental will be able to cover your installment. But for the initial purchase, I think it should be purely just for own stay. Now we come to the 2-bedroom layouts. So the first layout we have is a 2-bedroom 1-bath unit at 592 square feet. So I want to highlight a little bit about this particular layout. I really like it because this layout has 2 stacks. They have the stack 5 and stack 15. Why would I say that is something that I like? Because this particular layout is actually located right in this crack of the openings of the Orie for the 2 blocks. So when there is a crack like this, what happens is that the side wall of the unit will have something for ventilation, which is a window. If you look at the layout, needless to say, this particular kitchen has a window. What does it mean? Because it means that you can actually have open fire cooking or heavy cooking and close the kitchen, and there's ventilation. So for me, I have been seeing units, 2 bedrooms, 2 bedroom plus study, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath for the longest time. But it's the first time I see a 2 bedroom, 1 bath with a window. And I think this makes the kitchen so much more functional. There's also a lot of light source coming into the house. And because it's a dumbbell layout, at 592, you're not paying any excess wasted space. Everything you pay for is inside this square footage. So I think the plus point is really that you have a decent dining area. It has a window with kitchen. So decent dining area is also because when you go in from the main door, you don't get to see a dining area. There's a privacy because there's a wall that actually blocks the view. So in other words, what you eat or what you do, you have a chit chat, you might want to leave your door open. There won't be anybody trying to peek through or invade your privacy. So I thought it's a great idea. This layout, I think, is good. And likelihood during preview and launch day, I think this is one of the 2 bedrooms that will be stepped up quite quickly. Now, so let's just do a little bit of a math as well. If let's say I'm stuck in between buying a 1 bedroom plus study and 2 bedroom, 1 bath, which one should I go for? Assuming that for the top up in space from a 517 to a 2 bed, 1 bath is about 75 square feet times your PSF of 2007 during launch. Actually, the top up for this particular unit type is about 200k. So for 200k, what do you get? For 200k, actually you get a lot. First thing, you get 1 more bedroom and you get a kitchen with window. To me, I think it's a no-brainer. If I really have a choice and a budget allows me, right, and my queue number is not too bad, I'll go for the 2 bed, 1 bath. And in future, you have more space, you want to exit, it's better. Because for the 1 bedroom plus study, you probably only have a study space, probably can just build a table and do your study. But now with a much bigger room, I think it's a different story all in all. Now, as I mentioned earlier on in my earlier slides about the RC ledge, this is quite obvious for your northern view for stack 5. You get this. If you have master bedroom, you have this jutting out. I don't know how you feel about it because you will feel that your side will be blocked partially. And also sometimes, for example, during seasons like there's heavy rain, big wind, then you have a lot of debris, leaves that stuck at the RC ledge. Then out of your window, you have to see all these leaves there. To me, I don't know how you feel. I just feel that if I have a choice, I will take the southern view. The southern view, firstly, I can see National Day fireworks, and I don't have the RC ledge. So this is something that you can actually consider. Now for the 2 bedroom, 2 bath, the 646 square feet. This one is for people who really think that I really need an extra toilet. Why? Because I don't want my guests to come visit me. I use my master toilet, go and put there, then the smell lingers. I have friends or clients who really have this idea. So they are the very traditional people. For them, they will go for the 2 bed, 2 bath. Then you have to buy it at 646 square feet instead of the 592 square feet. What you get here is, of course, the extra toilet. This particular unit type, they have the south and north facing, but I will still say that it's more inward facing because you want to have a clear 100% view. There will be this center part where you'll be facing the pool and part of your neighbors. So I will say it's inward facing. So for this particular unit type, comparing to the earlier one we see is that the kitchen has no windows. But the good thing is that both bedrooms are ensuite. Then you have the dining at your living area. Means that just now when we look at the 2 bed, 2 bath, your dining area is being blocked. But right now, this dining area is right smack at your walkway. So to me, you have to share your dining area with your living room. What happens is that if you are someone who wants a very big sofa, right? Wow, I want a 4-seater, I want an L shape. I don't think you can put it there because you have to share your dining area. So this is a trade-off. But for 646, to me it's pretty good. Depends on how you look at it. then if you really need 2 bath, I think it's a good choice. Now, let's do a bit of study between these two layouts. What are the trade-offs? So for example, the 2-bed 2 bath versus the 2-bed 1 bath, the difference is about 54 square feet. So for you to top up from a 2-bed 1 bath to a 2-bed 2 bath, the cost price is about 150,000. So is it worth it? I think it really depends on you. It means that you are paying another 145,000 more for just the extra toilet. Yeah, for me, I think if I'm on a budget constraint and I actually don't mind my friends sharing the same toilet as I do, then I'll just go for this particular unit type, the 592 square feet. Yeah, so that's something that I will still prefer. Now, we will go to another unique 2-bed 2 bath layout, which is the 678 square feet layout. So this one is also inward facing, just next to your 2-bed 2 bath unit. What is so special about this layout? This layout gives you a lot more privacy because it's actually a conventional layout, because all your units, all your rooms are all tucked to one side. So what does it mean? It means that, for example, if you were to have a mini party at your master bedroom, then your partner happens to be at home, like your partner needs to do some work, or you have some guests coming in, your in-laws coming in, you all can all gather here to do some discussion and some talk, but you can just rest at the master bedroom. So to me, there's this privacy, because the earlier layouts, the dumbbell layout, is just next to the living room. So when you talk, you sing song, sing karaoke or whatever, everybody gets to hear you. So I don't think it's a great idea. So this is actually very much for people who are a little bit more traditional. They want a tuck-in layout, and they also want 2 toilets. That is actually quite good. And also one thing about this particular layout is that it's unique. So for example, in future, when you want to sell, when people come and view your house, among all the dumbbell, you remember, oh wow, stack 10 and stack 20 is quite unique. They are all tucked to one side. So it's something that I think you can consider, because I think this is something that some people might prefer. So right now, then you will see a difference, because from the 2-bed 2 bath dumbbell layout versus this 2-bed 2 bath tucked to one side conventional layout, the top up is about 86,000, which is for 32 square feet. So to me, I think importantly, it really depends on what you want, because if you are a little bit more of a budget constraint, you can actually go for the 646 square feet. So I just letting you guys see the difference in terms of the top up is about 86,000. So right now we come to the last 2-bedroom unit type, which is the 2-bedroom plus study, the 700 square feet unit, which is also part of our show unit at the show flat. So this unit, what is the difference? The difference is that you have, of course, a study area. And this particular unit is also a dumbbell layout. It's also inward facing. It has a sizable study area, which is good, and also a glass panel. So this particular layout, I think in the recent years, it's quite popular among the young families or people that has no kids, or probably for people who are retired, they are right sizing. But this particular layout is super good because they have one master bedroom to themselves, which is around 11 square meter, and also probably a smaller bedroom, which is about 8.7 to 8.8 square meter. Then they have a study. So to me, it's very cozy kind of arrangement for any individual to stay. And for someone who don't need such a big space, like you don't want to buy a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom, I think this is going to be pretty good. And they have a total of 78 units to grab in this development. So now I will do my comparison. So there is just now the 2-bed 2 bath conventional layout with our 2-bedroom plus study. You realize that actually the difference is only 22 square feet. So what does it entail? So in other words, if you're going to top up maybe around the price of 59,000 to 60,000, you can get one extra study room. You get what I mean? So actually, in other words, if you have no choice, because the 2-bedroom 2 bath for the 646 being grabbed out, right, you have to buy only the 6, 7, 8 square feet. I'll see that during launch day, please think about it and top up a little bit more to get the 2-bedroom plus study, because you might actually need that extra study space. And also in future, if you want to offload it, your extra study space could be a plus point to your listing, and also could help you make a little bit more money in terms of the square footage of the resale value. So to me, comparing the 6, 7, 8 versus the 700, go for the 700. Now with that, I come to my ranking. Ta-da! So of course, as I mentioned right from the start, I will prefer the V1 model, which is a 592 square feet, because I'm a very practical person. I just need one toilet. My friends come, so be it, use my toilet, it's fine. I'm paying just for the space that I want to live and use. 2-bedroom, 1 bath is okay. So if I really want 2 toilets, then I will think about between the 2 other 2-bedroom, 2 bath. Because the top up is not super significant, I will go for the second choice, which is my 2-bedroom plus study. Then if I am really on a little bit of budget constraint, but I really want to have an extra toilet and an extra bedroom from the 1 bedroom, right, I will just get the third choice, which is my 646 square feet. And the last choice, of course, is a traditional conventional layout, which I don't think I want to pay the extra money for this extra space lah. So that is something that I will avoid. So here's my ranking. Okay. Now we come to the 3-bedroom layouts. I think this is something that I will share a little bit more in detail, because most of the HDB upgraders or people who used to live at the 2-bedrooms units would like to explore on a bigger space. So the 3 bedrooms are pretty good, and I think this is something that people will look at. So I will spend some time and share the details between this particular layout. So for this 3-bedroom, the first variant will be the 3-bedroom compact, the C1 model, which is at 850 square feet. So you look at it, it is almost like your 2-bedroom plus study, right? But it is not lah, because it has a proper bedroom. So what happened is that I mentioned earlier on in my earlier slide, right? This particular development, they have this opening that gives the window to your kitchen for your 2-bed, 1 bath unit, right? So this particular side gives you the window to your bedroom. This particular window faces the wall of the opposite stack. So in other words, you won't get to see the panoramic view for all the rooms. But however, your bedroom 3 and master bedroom, you will likely see the panoramic view. So this is actually the trade-off. But overall, you look at the layout, it's pretty good. I think it's squarish, it's regular. And if you look carefully, the kitchen has an extra store. I think this is something that I like, because I have a lot of things at my house. Sometimes I store them all over the place and underneath my storage bed. But you have a store, for some families, is so essential. They can put their kids' toys, they can put their luggage and whatsoever all inside there. And it has a dumbbell layout. So this particular 3-bedroom compact, I think it has everything for a family to stay. You have 3 proper bedrooms, you have a store. The only thing is that you do have a helper's room. So if you don't have helper, that's great. But if you have a helper, I think you may need another unit type. Okay, so I think this is about the 3-bedroom compact that we see here. Okay, next we come to the 3-bedroom premium. So this is a unit type that has the enclosed kitchen, the yard, the WC, the bomb shelter, and also bathrooms with windows and spacious dining area. There's 2 unit types. One is the C2, 1023 square feet, that is south facing. And there's also the C2A, that is 1044 square feet, that is north facing. This particular unit type, both are the same internally. They have 3 bedrooms and everything else. But the only difference for this particular unit type is that for the C2A, they have a longer walkway at the foyer, whereas for the C2 is shorter. That's it. That means the difference in the square footage is paid on the walkway. It depends on individuals. In other words, for example, if both are going to launch at the same price, which I don't think so, because Southern View will likely be a bit more of a premium. In terms of square footage, you're likely to pay a little bit more for the 1044 square feet. But I don't think so, because the Southern View will likely have some premium, because I told you, right, if you face the south, every National Day you have the fireworks, you have all the nice fireworks that you can enjoy, you have the city view, there will be some form of activity there. Because of that, I think that the developer might have a premium on the Southern View. Yeah, and also for Southern View, most of the units in front, HDB flats are quite low, so you do have a good unblocked view for the southern part. So if let's say they have no premium, the difference between the 1023 square feet and the 1044 square feet is only about 58k. Then, for example, if there's a 3% premium, what happens is that the prices become quite close. In other words, the C2 model becomes a little bit slightly more expensive. Yeah, about maybe 30,000 more. Then after that, when it increases to 5% premium, the C2 model becomes a lot more expensive than the Northern View. Why I want to share this here is that it really depends on your queue number and the kind of facing that you like. Because a lot of people might think that I will get the 1023 square feet unit because it's smaller, I might get it cheaper, but that's not the case. Because when you look at the premium, right, at the end of the day, during launch, for example, you get level 10 for a C2 unit and level 10 for a C2A unit. The prices can vary quite a lot. For example, with a 5% premium, we are talking about a top up of about at least a good 80k. So this difference is actually quite big, 80,000. So be prepared for that. So if let's say the difference is 80,000 and I'm on a budget constraint, I might end up just really going for the 1044 square feet. Okay. Now, the next 3-bedroom model that we have is a 3-bedroom dual key. So this particular development, I think they also had a dual key unit, which is quite interesting because we have not seen dual keys for some time. But for some reasons, for the recent launches, including Grand Diamond, Nava Grove, we are getting to see dual key coming back. And right now we are seeing this dual key at the Orie. So it has two segments. One is the studio one, and of course the 2-bedroom segment. So this particular unit type is pretty good. Also, why they have the home shelter, they have a proper kitchen. But for the 2-bedroom unit types, of course, the segment, they do not have a yard area. Then after the studio is also quite good. They have a toilet, they have your pantry. The key thing is that there's 3 possible combinations that you can use of this unit. You can do as a unit for own stay, like a multi-generation unit where maybe your in-laws can stay at the studio area, okay? Then you stay at the 2-bedroom area. Or another way is that you can rent out the studio, then you stay at the 2-bedroom component. Or you can actually stay at the studio, then rent out the 2-bedroom component. Whichever the case, that's how people typically do the dual key. Or worst come to worst, you can actually rent out 2 components, the 2-bedroom component as well as the studio component. That's what you want to maximize your profit. But if you were to do that, what will happen? Let's look at this. For example, if the launch price, let's say, is ranging from 2,500 PSF to 2,700 PSF, you will be buying this unit slightly higher price than the 3-bedroom premium. Let's say you buy it at 2,006 PSF, you'll be buying it at 2.9 million. Then, for example, if you rent out the unit separately for 2 components, the studio one and the 2-bedroom one, at 2,005 and also at 5,000, the total rent is approximately about 7,500. So 7,500, right? Assuming that you are young, you are below 35, you can get a 30-year loan at 2.55% interest rate after TOP. Your mortgage is about 8,442. So if you look at the difference, if you're going to rent out both and 7,500, your mortgage is about 8,442, then your rental cannot cover the loan. So what does it mean? It means that actually if you buy this not for own stay but for rental, I don't think it is a good investment choice because the top up is quite a lot. Yeah, so this is something that I think for investors you can take note of, because this particular size is quite big, 1130 square feet. You're buying a lot for some of the area like the floor, then you're also buying for the pantry for this dual key, because there's also 3 toilets at the end of the day. So do you need that or not? Yeah, so this is something that you need to think about. Okay, so having said that, this is now the time for the summary for my pick. So I have these 4 unit types. My first pick, I will choose the C2 model, the 1023 square feet one. It's because I'm a view person. I want to see the National Day fireworks, okay? Because of that, I want to do the 1023 square feet one. Then, for example, if during launch day, the premium is not so much, maybe the premium is just 1% or even the same price as a Northern View, good. Then I'm buying within my budget. I don't want to spend too much for walkway. So if I were really to have no choice but to buy a slightly bigger one, then I have to go for the C2A model, the second choice. The third choice will be the 3-bedroom compact. That one is really for people who have budget constraint and you probably just don't need so much space, and you can buy the 850 square feet house. So the last choice will be a dual key, because the top up is quite a lot for your extra floor area and the extra toilet just for the dual key. So I don't think that's something that I'm looking at. So this is a summary for the 3 bedrooms. Right. So now, can the HDB upgraders afford a 3-bedroom in the Orie? So I have a case study. The Toa Payoh Apex BTO has just recently MOP'd about a year ago, plus minus a year ago. So as such, their average purchase price from HDB during the BTO launch was about 480,000. As I go and look through the previous brochures that they had, then now the recent transacted prices is about 1.05 million. So in other words, the capital appreciation or potential growth that they have, if they sell this property, they will have earned about 570,000 to 580,000. So why is this important? It's important we want to know whether you can afford the 3-bedroom Orie in the near future. Okay, so for example, this couple, before applying for BTO, they earn $6,000. Then after they collect the keys, they have a promotion, they earn about 6,800. So as such, their CPF is actually max already. So I'm trying to do a calculation that, let's say they have CPF saved for 4 years, plus during the 5 years MOP, right? they will have easily earned about 320,000. Then plus the capital gain that they had early on for the sale of their house, they will add up together to have this sales proceeds or their capital at 900k. So for example, if today you are a buyer, you buy the Orie for the 3-bedroom compact at 2.29 million, and after that you want to sell it to the HDB upgraders maybe 3 to 5 years later, what is the possibility that whether they can afford or not? I think they can, because the down payment for your resale price at 2.6 million is 783,000. So they have already their 900k so actually a good thing they are able to afford. So for example, if you buy a 3-bedroom premium, the C2 model 1023 square feet at 2.7, and later on sell to the HDB upgraders 3 to 5 years later at 3 million, do they have the capital to pay for it? No? They still have that. It's still below 900k. Then after, if let's say you want to earn a little bit more, you say that, okay, maybe the prices are right, I want to sell it at 3.2 million, the down payment becomes 928k. So they have to top up a little bit of cash, maybe 28,000. So that said, in these two scenarios, we can see that actually HDB upgraders can afford the resale Orie unit in the near future. It's not something out of reach, because most of the HDB owners, the new ones, the BTO owners, they will have earned quite a fair bit from their property in this area. Now come to the 4-bedroom layouts. So 4-bedroom layouts, we have 3 types, but I will put side by side, right? This 1216 square feet one, because there is a D1 model and a D2 model. So the D2 model is also our show flat model. So if you come to show flat, do take a look. One thing I like about both of them is that they have enclosed kitchen, yard, dry kitchen, and their dining area can fit up to 8-seater. So if you look at it, it's quite spacious. Your 8-seater here. Okay. However, this particular layout is in a portrait format, means that they're not in a landscape format in their living area. So it's actually quite long in depth. Whether you like it or not, I'm someone that I don't mind, because I still do have 2 areas that is demarcated. So this is actually my dining area, entertainment area, my living area. So I still think it's pretty good. Then after that, you have all your bedrooms that are all tucked to one side to allow you to have some views. But why I think the D2 model is preferred for those who prefer view, because they are at the southern facing. So as such, you buy high floor, right? Your 4-bedroom, you will get to see the city view, which I typically like. So it's pretty good for the D2 model. But if you get a D1 model, you will be inward facing, so you'll be seeing your neighbors. Then when you get high floor, you'll still see your neighbor. But you get low floor, maybe at level 2 to level 5, you will get to see the landscape view. Because the landscape view in the center of the Orie is amazing, it's quite nice. When you pay for the premium, it's pretty good. Okay, so you can think about that. So both of the layouts are similar in size. Now the next one that we're going to talk about is actually the 1364 square feet, the 4-bedroom plus study. So this one, there's only one stack. It's also inward facing. Okay, but this one, if you look at the floor plan, you will already feel that this is a lot more spacious in terms of the living area, because their dining table is being put in the landscape position. Then the next thing is that they have a study area that is pretty big with a window. Although there isn't going to be any view, but there's window, there's ventilation. What does it mean? Because if you really would like to use your study area for your helper instead of a home shelter, you can use this. You can actually enclose it. Your helper can stay there. Then you have a bigger living space. I think it's not too bad for anybody who wants a study area. So right now I also did a bit of a comparison. If you were to buy a 4-bedroom plus study with the 4-bedroom of 1216 square feet, what is the cash top up that you need to do? Okay, so the cash top up difference is relatively high, because for this particular floor size, right, the top up is about 141 square feet, and that will result about 380,000 to 400,000. So for 400,000 top up, for a bigger hall and just one more study area, I don't think it's worth it. It's quite hefty, but some people will still like it because they feel that I have a bigger space. But you have to work out your finances to see that whether it is worth the buck, because some people still do prefer a bigger living space. So but the top up is close to 400k. So in summary, based on my ranking, I will choose the D2 model, which is our show flat model, because it has privacy on the walkway and it has southern unblocked view. Okay, in the second choice, you have no choice, I'll get the inward facing D1, but last choice will be the 4-bedroom plus study, because this one is a lot of top up, and I think that the difference is just purely the living space area and the study. Okay. Now I'll come to the 5-bedroom layout. There's only one layout for this one, so do take a look at this. this is the layout. So this 5-bedroom layout, there are 2 stacks. They are stack 2 and stack 12, one northern and one southern facing, 77 units, about 9.9%. What I like about this layout is that it has a private lift, okay, which is so essential for the recent launches of the 5-bedroom. You need to have a private lift so that you don't feel a lot more exclusive. Then they have a wide frontage balcony so that your living area, your dining area is wide, and you have a junior master with a bathroom, which is good. The only setback I feel for this 5-bedroom is their toilet. Bathroom 2 has no window. Other than that, I think this entire layout is pretty good. If you look at it, and this is something that a 5-bedroom should have. A lot of people ask me whether this layout is it the best layout. I say that it's a good 5-bedroom layout. Of course, it's not the best 5-bedroom layout, but if you compare to the 5 bedrooms that's around Toa Payoh area or even at District 12, I think this layout is relatively decent. Okay, so in comparison, I will choose another development for you all to see. In whole of Toa Payoh, there's only another condo that has 5-bedroom, and there's only 37 units. That's only at Gem Residences. And currently, there's one listing over there, which I viewed before already, is a 5-bedroom layout by an agent of a low floor. This is a level 2, level 3 unit. Means, in other words, like the whole of Toa Payoh for 5-bedroom, right, we only have Gem Residences at 37 units. So the supply is really very limited. And when we look at the layout of the Gem Residences 5-bedroom, it's all tucked to one side, similar to us. There are some simple difference, because if you really have built a 5-bedroom unit at Gem, right, you realize that firstly, you're at high floor, the northern view, your balcony is very small. Yeah, then you really don't have a very big view. This is actually just window over here. And the next thing is that the living area space is also relatively small. Why? Because this walkway, what do you want to do? You want to do shuttle run. Because there's nothing you can do here. This walkway is really very long to go to the living room. So to me, the hall is quite small. Then the next thing is that the bedrooms over here, bedroom 4, bedroom 5, only can fit a single bed. If you put a queen size bed, likelihood the queen size bed will touch the wardrobe doors. There's no way that you can fit a queen size bed. It's really relatively small. Then after the next thing is that the balcony, there's a balcony at the kitchen, which is not so useful. Some people can hang their clothes there, but I think there's a lot of wasted space, because for a pre-harmonized project of 1313 square feet, to me, it's actually very small. It is a lot of wasted space. I want to draw your attention to this particular part where I think it's very important. What happens when there's very little supply in a particular area? Does it drive the demand and the prices for the resale property? Okay, so I have 2 case studies. The first case study is about Tampines. So if you guys know about Tampines, I think the newest TOP project will be Treasure at Tampines by Simlian. So they have about 110 5-bedroom units. So what happened is that surrounding them in Tampines, all these are slightly older condos. There are 5 bedrooms and the 4 bedrooms, the bigger format ones. There are only a few of them, so there's limited supply. When this happens, imagine if I'm a 5-room HDB upgrader, or I'm someone that, I come from Pasir Ris, I come from maybe other parts of the east, I want to buy a 5-bedroom. Where can I go? I want to buy new, I will buy Treasure lor. Okay, so I buy Treasure, what happened? I will buy it because I want a space, I want a newly TOP condo. Then because of this, we look at the transaction prices of the Treasure and Tampines. All the 5-bedroom owners all make decent profit. I think the one that profit the most, right, but only hold for 3 years, 2 months, they earn about close to $1 million. So you look at the profit that they have. So when there's a demand, it will always drive up the prices. And the next case study you can talk about is actually Marymount's project, Jadescape. Jadescape 5-bedroom only had 39 units. So it's quite similar to us. They only have 1 stack and they only have 39 units. So as such, the demand might be even bigger because there's a lot of upgraders from this area at Marymount or Ang Mo Kio wanting to buy a bigger space. So you look at the surrounding freehold units, like some like Seasons View or even Thomson Imperial Court, they're quite old. And frankly speaking, they can be also quite big formatted units and having freehold status. But a lot of millennials, a lot of Gen Z people probably won't appreciate the facilities. If I want something new, I want a full condo facility, I will definitely look Jadescape. But the truth to be told, Jadescape resale value is insane. A lot of them made very good profit. We're talking about at least $1 million for most of them. And some of them only just hold for 3 years plus, they are looking at such a big profit. The highest one for the 5-bedroom, right, could be 1.146 million. It's quite a lot. And they only hold for less than 5 years. The profit annualization is super healthy. So I think this is something that I want to share. It's because when there's a limited supply, buyers are willing to pay more because there's a demand for it. So just imagine, right, the Orie, right, we have 77 5-bedrooms, and you're going to add on to the supply in the whole of Toa Payoh when there's only 37 units for 5 bedrooms, which is GEM, and the 5 bedrooms are all not equal in size. 2 of the bedrooms in the 5 bedroom in GEM only can hold a queen size bed. You have a think about it, whether if you buy a 5 bedroom now, how much more will you earn in the near future? But I would say that this is something that you buy a 5 bedroom, it's not something that you buy today and within the next 3 years you sell, you will see a profit. I think you need to at least hold it for a while, because for bigger formatted units, you need the market to normalize. So in other words, maybe some people, they have earned enough money, they have saved enough, they have done up their property elevation cycle, then they suddenly realize that I really need a big bedroom, and I realize that the 5 bedroom units, I only have 77 in Toa Payoh, I want to buy 1 unit there, and they will just pay at all costs to get a unit there. So I think because of the lack of supply, buyers are willing to pay more because of the demand. What I want to share here is also that for the Jadescape buyer, those who have bought at 4.55 million, right, they could have also bought the landed property. Yeah. The key thing is that at that period in time of the sale, we observed that there was also the freehold landed that was sold at 3.4 million and also at 4.338 million. So these properties are sold, but then there are still people who prefer a 5 bedroom. So what I'm trying to drive here is that there are buyers who will definitely want to stay in a condo and will prefer a bigger space. And when that happens, they can actually go and buy a condo over a freehold landed property. Because for the fact is that I do have clients that live in landed and also relatives that stays there. But what they don't like is that there's no one managing all the entire facade for them. For example, if your roof is leaking, you have to call someone to fix the roof, or let's say your garden has a lot of plants or weeds, you have to clear on your own. Then for example, you have fans, the paint wears out, you have to do it. So there's a lot of so-called things you need to do you live in landed. But once you live in a condo, you have the MCSCs to do up all the maintenance for you while paying the maintenance fee. There will always be a buyer that prefers a condo. And if let's say you buy a 5 bedroom today and you worry that you cannot offload, it's about a matter of time where the correct buyer comes in. So right now I come to the end of the analysis. I just want to share with you the preview is on the 3rd of January. It's pretty soon, just about 1 to 2 weeks from now. Then after that, the booking is on the 18th of January. It will be the first launch of the year. It has a lot of hype. I think a lot of the consumers are looking forward to have a look at the show flat. So if you're keen to find out more and you want me to explain in detail to you on the things that I mentioned in this video, do drop me a text and I'm happy to have a one-to-one consultation with you. Okay, so I'll see you guys around. Thank you and bye-bye.